That's right. It's the watch list, you guys. It's the Friday edition. We're wrapping up this first week of the watch list. Of course, this is the show where we look at all of the videos that will push the news and the views of the day to make sure you guys are up to date on what's going on in the world. You know, we got politics, we got news, we got society, we got culture, but most importantly, we've got Francesca Fiorentini here with us today. What's going on, Francesca? Joins me for the last day of the week.
I'm so excited to be here. The opening was fire. Congratulations on a week down or almost. I mean, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. We'll see.
You still have time to totally mess it up.
Hey, you know, and
I'll be there watching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone to let me know exactly when I mess this up. And I was like, Francesca, she's gonna keep it real. If you guys don't know, what you should, she is the host of the Habituation Room every Sunday. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I was on that at one point. It was a lovely, good time. I enjoyed myself every moment speaking with Francesca. Also, host of the Twituation Room. That's every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock on the West Coast.
That's on TYT's Twitch channel.
Absolutely, TYT's Twitch channel. Check her out there. It's going to be a glorious time, kind of like what we're about to have here, but not with this first story. Let's check this one out. An advocate for women's healthcare, she shocked a bunch of TV anchors when she took an abortion pill live on the air. So let's check this video out.
Taking it myself.
You're taking it, are you, you're not pregnant, are you?
I would say that this is going to end a pregnancy.
That was activist Jex Blackmore, and she was trying to show and spread awareness actually about the pill mifepristone. I practiced that and I still messed it up. Mifepristone, which is an abortion-inducing medication that can be obtained through the mail. So because of this and because of the seemingly outrageous thing that she did and shocked a bunch of people, this was one response from a viewer.
And she took the pill right on television. Callously, like it's killing her baby on TV.
She's upset about the situation, and she decided to film herself being upset about the situation to let people know that she's upset about the situation that happened there on TV. I'm not sure if that's going to change a bunch of minds. Before we get to more, by the way, also part of this issue is that it's being the FDA has allowed this to be sent via the mail for women that are looking to make that choice. So about 2 weeks after the Supreme Court indicated that it may uphold the Mississippi abortion law, the Biden administration eliminated a long-standing rule that the abortion pill medication mifepristone needed to be dispensed in person. Did this bring tears to your eyes, Francesca?
Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, I think it's great. Look, I also think that she clearly was on a right-wing, like, I don't know if that's which channel that is, what that is. You know, if you have to call your cable provider or if AT&T secretly sponsored that channel. But I like that she's actively trolling right-wingers and their feelings about what women do with their own bodies and choosing whether or not they want to be a mother or not, or a parent or not. And I think it's really wonderful to show that it is a pill, right? It is not an entire procedure. And this pill, as other abortion pills, they're used all around the world, is incredibly safe and good for her to do that. Look, I don't think she was actually pregnant. She said this would begin the termination of a pregnancy. You know, so look, I'm of two minds. Not everyone has to take. A lot of people have abortions, so many people have abortions. Not everyone has to take it incredibly gravely and seriously. I think it's false to say most people are horribly stricken when they do have an abortion. But I also think it's false to say that nobody is stricken and takes it solemnly and thinks it's an important, moment and necessary moment for them, or that they relish in it. No, it takes all kinds. There are all kinds of reactions and attitudes towards one's abortion. The commonality is I can't be pregnant.
Yeah, and by the way, so we talk about this woman's the response, woman's video of her showing how upset she was. Now, if people are thinking about the act or the process of a woman aborting, then maybe they do respond like this, right? Maybe in real life without the camera in front of them and without for show, and they do something like this, right? So if you care that much, how about we take measures and actually look for education and processes to make sure that maybe it happens less. Maybe there's more education on how, even when it comes to, as I mentioned yesterday, it's not just young women that are end up having to make this decision, but maybe when that happens, we have more education for those folks that you guys think are the only ones doing this, or the only ones that have to make this decision. So how about we all work to make sure that's the situation? Instead, we need to demonize a group of people and say, you know what they just want to do? No, that's actually not the way the decision works. If you speak to someone, then you'll find out that that's not really the answer. So also, by the way, mifepristone, let's go to this next option about as far as how it doesn't just like, you're not 9 months pregnant, it's not about to happen. Mifepristone is used in conjunction with another drug, misoprostol, to carry out medical abortions. Mifepristone blocks the hormone needed for pregnancy, while misoprostol empties the uterus. The regimen is considered safe within the first 10 weeks of pregnancy, and that's according to the FDA. And lastly, that activist said that, I would say that this is going to end pregnancy, as you point out. This will be my third abortion, she said. Now, there was one other point about this, because there's a bit of a normalization I think maybe has to happen. And because we've pushed so much of the fear injected to it, or, oh my God, I can't believe you would do such a thing. When many times this happens, many times, and if you don't see or hear about it, you're not crying, or because you weren't told or shown, right? And sometimes when you see maybe someone joke about it or someone talk about it as easily and normalized as it was here, I've done it before, because I've seen it, someone joked about it and I went, wow. Now I agreed with what they wanted to do for themselves, but I was taken aback, because no matter who you are or where your position is, we've all been kind of indoctrinated in this thought process that, yeah, but that's her choice, that's her body, you know?
Yeah. And that you have to feel a certain way about it, I think is really important. Yeah, and true reproductive justice and reproductive health, as friend of TYT Liz Winstead always says, is supporting all pregnancy outcomes, right? And whether that is supporting the decision to terminate a pregnancy or to carry one to term, we need to be supporting, mothers or soon-to-be mothers and all parents in that decision, no matter what it is. That's reproductive health, right? And so getting a pill in the mail, of course that's reproductive health. Why? And reproductive justice, because it is so much more equitable than having to, schedule an appointment, making sure you have certain kinds of health care, maybe traveling miles and miles and miles. And the other thing I'll say, look, this woman saying, oh, this will be my third abortion. Good on you, girl. The Supreme Court's about to strike that down. So, stock up on whatever you need to stock up on. I am not here to judge you. And I am certainly not here. And pro-choice, not even pro-love, anti-choice people sure as hell do not have a place in judging how someone should feel about their abortion. I thought you were against abortion from the beginning. So it doesn't matter if it happens on live TV, if it happens while you're going down a water slide at Raging Waters. Like, I don't care. If you're not for choice, why do you care where someone has an abortion?
They don't. It's a bit of a I'm better than you, signal to make sure people may think, yeah, I'm the moral one, when we don't know the rest of the things they're doing in their lives that actually might eliminate that morality. Which I know of another pill that men can get through the mail very easily. It has something to do with sexual health. Maybe God doesn't want you to have children, dude. Maybe that's why your stuff doesn't work. Just saying, if we're talking about what God wants and what he chose for you, why are we looking for medical intervention to make sure you can do the deed? I wonder. Let's move on to this next story. Florida lawmakers have introduced a bill that would ban public schools from discussing sexual orientation and gender identity with kids that are there. Let's check this out.
Florida lawmakers introduced a controversial bill that would restrict the discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity in classrooms with young students. The proposal is being slammed by LGBTQ rights activists who have dubbed it the Don't Say Gay bill. One of the most vocal opponents of the bill is Chasten Buttigieg, a former teacher and the husband of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. He directed his criticism at Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, saying bluntly, "This will kill kids," adding that this legislation would make Florida a harder place for LGBTQ kids to survive in.
So the bill broadly prohibits school districts from encouraging classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels. And it gives parents the right to bring a lawsuit against a school that they think has violated the policy. So proponents of the bill say it's meant to preserve the rights of parents to be in charge of their children's upbringing. But LGBTQ advocates are really afraid of the impact it could have. You can take a look at this statement from advocacy group Equality Florida, which said this legislation is meant to stigmatize LGBTQ people, isolate LGBTQ kids, and make teachers fearful of providing a safe, inclusive classroom. The existence of LGBTQ students and parents is not a taboo topic that has to be regulated by the Florida legislature. So there's a real fear on the part of advocates about this bill.
So as pointed out, and with many other things when it comes to education and rules being limited in schools lately, from many folks who want to restrict knowledge and access to information. The thing is what about the parents of the kids who do want to discuss it? What about the families of those kids that would like to discuss it? What about those kids? What about if the kid can't speak to their parents? Which this is more from Chasten Buttigieg's tweet that video just pointed out. As they said, this will kill kids, and he pointed out at Ron DeSantis, you're purposefully making your state a harder place for LGBTQ kids to survive in. In a national survey, 42% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide last year. Now they can't talk to their teachers. So you know who talks about this type of stuff in schools? Kids. Whether it's derogatory, whether it's making fun of someone, whether it's not assuming something about someone and it leads to a lot of bullying, or if someone does come out maybe to friends or maybe even a teacher, that's not always well accepted, what leads to these types of things like this numbers on suicides. We can't act like that doesn't happen. And many times because family rejects the kid, or then, as I mentioned, bullying happens for the kid because of who they are. Now, instead, we just want to keep them to themselves and bottle them up because it's harming who? Those kids who like to call them names and are angry at them for who they are because we've cultivated this culture of folks who think this way. Is that helpful to society? So again, this is the party that talks about what about the children, protect the children. What about the kids, unless they're gay?
Yep.
Is that the idea?
I mean, and you're totally right about that. You know, this law presumes that there is something like a safe environment for LGBTQ kids to actually speak openly about their sexuality and their identity. Like, I'm sorry, what, where? Like. I think it is changing, but you bet that schools are not often a good place to talk about that. And yeah, there's tons of bullying. And so like to presume that like, oh, things are just great now and everyone just gets to openly talk about it. Yeah, we wish, but it's the same thing with critical race theory and the bill that they passed about how you can't talk about anything in public schools that might hurt the fifis of all people, mostly white people. Okay, let's stop talking about it. You know, like it's like there is no critical race theory in schools. There is a discussion of historic, like systemic racism, systems of oppression. Is that what you're talking about? Because no, like what are we doing here? And it is so sad that we're just enshrining a policy of bullying. Oh, we're just enshrining the status quo because you started to see a little bit of a cultural change. And let's be real, Jayar, this is not gonna hold. I mean, it could pass, but it's not gonna hold. I'm sorry, the tides of change are such. Kids are open these days, you know? They're pansexual, they're trans, they're talking about stuff. They're talking about what they like, what they don't like, what they want to wear, what they don't wear. You can't stop that tide. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when it comes to oppressive societies, you have to limit the reach that people have to information and exchanging ideas with each other. And we've reached that point. It's not you can't hold it back anymore. It's why certain, societies may try to suppress the internet or access to information because people learn things and then their minds change based off of a greater level of knowledge that they have. And kids have it. And again, you mentioned critical race theory. There's kids in many of these schools are like, this is insane. You mean you're gonna not let us read a book? You think we don't have enough brains to think for ourselves once we read something? So here's one more details from this bill, which by the way, some of the specifics here. The two bills in the state legislature, HB 1557 and SB 1834, state that a school district, quote, may not encourage classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students, right? Just yesterday, I did the story about them, about this gun manufacturer that is making a JR-15 for 3-year-olds because they need to learn early and shoot soon as possible. We can't teach our children about who they are or who their maybe friends are as they go through their lives. What about the education for things like this? It's a pick and choose for how young you want to teach kids about life, but we're going to teach them about guns, which many times ends life in these same situations at these schools. One more time, down to graphic number 6, because this does repeat history as we talk about going forward, and we're this forward-thinking country, but in fact, many of us want to bring us back. It does sound a little bit like the no homo bills of the 90s. The LGBTQ advocacy organizations say that these bills are reminiscent of those no promo homo laws in the 90s that barred educators from discussing queer topics in schools, but with an added mandate on parent and family involvement.
Yeah, it's back to the culture war.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, it's just that culture war, tap that little culture war third rail and you got it, and like as if, and just pretend as if everyone's just talking about LGBTQ plus issues every single day, 24 hours. You just start off, a class with Will and Grace episodes. Everybody knows that that's how every classroom is started in first grade. But these are the same people who years ago, probably in the 90s, were like, no, you can't talk about you can't talk about safe sex, abstinence only, and not even that. Let's not talk about parts and anything. We just have bodies from the waist up. There is nothing from the waist down. That is no-go zone. Like they don't want to talk about sexuality. I would love to know, how good is the sex ed in Florida right now? My guess is it's terrible. And I got sex ed in California many years ago, and it was bad here. So I can only imagine that Florida is like, if you see a gator coming, anyway, you're not gay, bye. Like, I don't know, like what are they teaching there?
It's repressive lessons is what they teach. And by the way, a lack of education leads to ignorance, which leads to bad decision making once you are there. So if this is too young to learn about anything, what's the age when it begins? Because we don't like teaching adults, by the way. They don't want anyone to really know. They want just kind of osmosis to happen and people just suddenly know what they're doing. That's why so many people, I think, have the issues that they have and don't understand each other. Men don't understand how women work. That's why there's these oppressive laws, again, as we mentioned, with anti-choice things. They just don't know how things work because they were never taught and they never wanted to be taught. A lack of education leads to a problem in our society. One more problem in our society. Let's go to this next story. Conspiracy theorists are talking about Bill Gates implanting microchips through the vaccine. That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? No, but actually Elon Musk behind the scenes is finding a way to do it for real, as his brain implant startup Neuralink is gearing up for human trials. Neuralink. Let's look at some of the details.
Elon Musk gave a presentation for his brain interfacing company Neuralink.
I think it's gonna blow your mind.
It was one of the weirder tech demos in recent memory.
We're trying to get Gertrude out, and this is how you know it's a live demo.
Musk was showing off progress on a device that listens in on electrical signals from the brain and could use those signals to control computers or robots. The tech itself isn't new, but Neuralink wants to make the system smaller, safer, and easier to insert. And if that goes well, the company has a host of bigger goals.
Depression, addiction, strokes, brain damage, these can all be solved with an implantable Neuralink.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but is this actually possible? Smaller and more streamlined devices are one thing. That's a technology problem, and they're making headway with it. But to pull off the big sci-fi stuff, the technology has to connect with arguably the most mysterious thing in the universe, the human brain.
Wow, are you guys signing up for this? By the way, the goal here is to help solve neurological conditions, as they point out, but also to maybe help develop things when it comes to helping with spinal issues, depression, maybe mental health issues as well. That's some of their goals, but it might be a little more ambitious than that. Let's go to this. The most important thing that the device might be able to do, Musk said, would be to let people achieve what he calls AI symbiosis, which allows the human brain to merge with an artificial intelligence, such that the future of the world is controlled by the combined will of the people of Earth. I think that's obviously gonna be the future that we want, Musk also said. So I'm not sure if everyone wants that, as far as especially implanting brain chips into their brains, which again, I'm not sure how many of us really understand fully how the brain works, but we'll trust Elon Musk to shove something in there for us. So also, but their YouTube channel also showed it in action. It's a little bit amazing here, how it does work inside of a brain.
First, we calibrate the decoder by recording neural activity as Pager uses the joystick to move a cursor to targets presented on the screen. As he's playing this game, we're wirelessly streaming, in real time, the firing rates from thousands of neurons to a computer. Using these data, we calibrate the decoder by mathematically modeling the relationship between patterns of neural activity and the different joystick movements they produce. After only a few minutes of calibration, we can use the output from the decoder to move the cursor instead of the joystick. Pager still moves the joystick out of habit, but as you can see, it's unplugged. He's controlling the cursor entirely with decoded neural activity. Our goal is to enable a person with paralysis to use a computer or phone with their brain activity alone.
Should we sign you up, Francesca?
No. Damn it. Make Elon do those tests. Let that monkey free. Make Elon sit there. Like, look, okay. The only thing I will say about this is yes, for people who are severely disabled, who cannot, who basically need something like that to use a computer, like that could be great. They could do that with their eyes, with their brain, that would be an advance. But again, like everything Elon does, I'm not sure it doesn't already exist and he's just trying to rebrand it and slap a Tesla logo on it and be like, see, I did it. In fact, that's what they started the entire segment out with. Like, this already exists, but Elon wants to make it smaller and basically steal our idea. But look, anything that you can put in Elon's brain for him to like wake up and realize that he's a giant POS, like I'm down for that. And so if that's what this implant does, and he's like, I am a terrible douchebag, like that, I'm for. But other than that, this is horrifying to me. There are many ways to cure mental health and depression and issues. Like, I just see this whole thing and I'm like, healthcare, please. We just want healthcare. Yeah. I just want to see a doctor. I just want healthcare, please. It's just a meme.
And by the way, how accessible is this to folks if we can't even get healthcare? So how would this be working for folks who really need it? So really fast, some more on the safety. So scientists are worried about the safety regarding this. So let's go to that third graphic here. Say for instance, a clinical trial participant changes their mind and once out of the study or develops undesirable complications, which is the first thing I thought. What I've seen in the field is we're really good at implanting the devices, said Dr. Laura Cabrera, who researches neuroethics at Penn State. But if something goes wrong, we really don't have the technology to explain them and remove them safely without inflicting damage to the brain. Again, I'm not sure how that's not the first thing we thought. And also, as we develop these things that are very important for getting in people's brains, that we don't know if we can take them back out if they have the choice to take them out, or if something goes horribly wrong. Elon's kind of losing support, employees, people working on this, so he'll take anyone in. Let's go down to that next graphic. They're building a medical device and a surgical approach to implant that medical device, and they're approaching it with the use of a tech company. Again, don't forget that. Move fast and break things is what one employee at Neuralink said. And as I was pointing out, there's now 79 job openings at the Neuralink website. And let's look at this graphic really fast. For those jobs, no prior experience in neuroscience is necessary. We will teach you everything you need to know. Come on in, Jim from Wisconsin, just graduated high school, barely.
You will be a guinea pig for Neuralink. That monkey was like, damn it, monsterjobs.com, I hate you. Why'd you sign me up for this? I knew I should have just gotten a job at Trader Joe's, damn it. But obviously, Elizabeth Holmes and Martin Shkreli will soon be, free. So I'm sure Elon will, snatch him up.
They'll be there, they'll be ready. After this break, we will come back with more with Francesca, but specifically, Marjorie Taylor Greene faced a couple of constituents not face to face, but over the phone. And she did not like what they had to say. We'll be back.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks.
Ooh.
Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like. tyt.com/join and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitzing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's Jayar's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny Pie. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing. I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Cenk. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Such a big fan. Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, AKA Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
And this is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I'll refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool, rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT? Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was the white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
It's the watch list. It's Friday. It's JR. It's Francesca. Hi. What are you guys talking about out there? Let's see really quickly. TYT members. Next TYT reporter said when the kid gets bullied, the excuse is then boys will be boys. And you just can't win in that system. Quite obviously, that's talking about that the story where they don't want boys to talk, or kids in general, to talk about anything when it comes to sexual orientation. Next, E Pluribus Brian says, Elon is hoping that putting that chip in your brain will keep your Tesla AI from running into stuff. More truth than you know, because we saw some of those bad PR moments when their autonomous cars were crashing. Also, Twitch really fast. Rodney gifted 10 tier 1 subs. Thank you very much. Love you for it. Also, the super chats on the YouTube. Billy Bear, she, her dragon. Franny's Fire Fridays are here. 3 exclamation points there. I mean, they're gonna find it quickly and easily. Let's see just how fire. Let's go to this next story. Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to go on live TV and take some calls from some constituents there in Georgia, and it didn't really go as planned. Let's watch.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say thank God for Joe Biden. She is an embarrassment to the state of Georgia.
Well, we all have our opinions.
Amen to that, and I've got mine.
All righty, thank you.
Well, all righty. I bet when they screened that call, they heard the accent and were like, no, she's totally gonna be great. She's gonna gush over Marjorie Taylor Greene. Matter of fact, okay, fine, that was just a one-off. How about this one? This one will work.
We accepted Trump for 4 years. You all refused to accept Biden. You refused to do it. And maybe we didn't like Trump, but he won, and so that was it. You all are not, you will not accept the fact that Joe Biden won. And that is the whole thing. You're not going to accept it. You're going to keep on and just peck. And you won't get anything done. If you're not going to respect the man and realize that he's the president, you're not ever going to get anything done. You've got to work together. And you are not doing it. You're not doing it. And neither are the other Republicans. They're just going with Trump. No, he didn't win it. He didn't win it. And wasted all the money in Georgia to have to count the votes 3 times because he said he won and he didn't.
That was uncomfortable. When you have to go through the range of emotions from every time she looked to the side, she was wondering, are you guys gonna cut her off yet? Because I don't wanna hear any more of this. By the way, this is one of the few times, this is the look on a conservative politician's face. When someone says to them, you're not working across the aisle. Where's the unity? When are you gonna start working to do something? Because her entire platform is doing nothing. It's angering people. It's getting into fights. It's saying, look how they're attacking me. Can you believe they're finding me for not wearing a mask? That's her brand. That's her political acumen, is starting fights. So when someone says you're not doing anything and they have that kind of accent and they're from Georgia, she has to sit there and listen without going, you're just a hateful lib from those bastions of California and Florida. You can't do it now. Now you're stuck.
This is your state. This is your state that went blue for the first time in I don't know how long, right? That voted, that got 2 senators flipped the Senate. Now, of course, we're not doing anything with that majority, but like these are the kind of people, and like I think it's good not just for people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but also for people like us and for progressives to sort of hear from folks in the South, maybe in Georgia, maybe who, again, sad to say, have been convinced somehow that like Bernie Sanders is too far left and Joe Biden is like a good unifier. Like I know people who voted for Trump the first time and then did, because of Trump being a total and complete idiot, voted for Biden, but who might not have decided. I mean, look, I think it's, I do think Bernie would have won, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's nice to hear from real voters sometimes and who are mad. And we saw a similar fire when Republicans tried to, overturn the ACA back in 2017 and crazy town hall meetings, 2017 and 2018. And they were their constituents, many of whom were Republican voters. And let's remember, she's right. Not a single Republican voted for the American Rescue Plan. Not a single one helped put child tax credits in the pockets of Americans. And whether or not Biden is doing a good enough job and Democrats are doing a good enough job sort of like owning that and reminding people of that, I think we all need to. So I don't know. I love it. I love to see it.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to be held accountable by certain people that you would expect to be on your side just no matter what. But people think there's this constant assumption that their voters are lazy and stupid. So they've been trying to exploit that. And maybe they've exploited enough of them that they think everyone's like that, but everyone is not like that. Let's go on to this third graphic before we run on to this next story, because this is what Marjorie Taylor Greene does while she's trying to be a congresswoman. She posts things like this on her Getter, which is of course that alternate Twitter account. And she says, "Good morning, sunshine." So she's working out. Who cares what she said? She's doing pull-ups because that's what we care about when it comes to our representation. Apparently not. Apparently not. Maybe she'll change. No, she won't. Let's go to this next story. I'm through with her. A South Dakota police officer is moonlighting as a delivery driver. But why? Here, let's watch this.
So this happened today.
No, I'm not who you're expecting, but your driver got arrested for things he had to take care of. So I figured I'd complete the Doordash for you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks.
Definitely not the DoorDash delivery car you'd expect driving up. But if you didn't hear there, the police officer delivered, I believe it was Chick-fil-A, which was probably cold because I'm sure that traffic stop that he had when he arrested the actual delivery driver that was supposed to be delivering the food to that woman there. I guess it's a bit humorous, maybe. Who knows exactly what the circumstances of that arrest was? Maybe speeding to hurry up and get to the food there in time. I don't know, but I guess it's somewhat thoughtful that his food just isn't gonna sit in the impounded car, or that lady's food isn't gonna sit there in the impounded car. I guess it all comes out to a bit. I'm trying not to be bitter about this. I'm trying not to say negative things. I'm pulling back. I'm holding back. But apparently the driver was arrested and food must be delivered, which I always think. I mean, I know some people can't, but just go pick up the food. Just go pick up the food yourself. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
I think my biggest problem with this story is the way that it was couched in the local media as like, hero cop delivers DoorDash food, as you know, as someone like is sitting and gotten arrested and like, oh God, we need these positive stories, and everyone is fawning. Oh, we love our cops and it's so sickening to me. I am so sorry. Every time a police officer does something that isn't awful, it becomes like a night story. Like, oh, we're starting off today, a cop, like braked for a cat that was in the middle of the road. Oh my God, and like, and I'm not saying there isn't good police work. Of course there is, but this is so ridiculous to me. The entire story ignores the fact that, yeah, there's someone who's just been arrested. Why was he arrested? Is he okay? What happened? What was it? Was it driving with an outdated registration? Or is he like a wanted murderer who's now delivering for DoorDash? Like, what's going on here?
Outstanding warrants apparently is the problem.
There you go, outstanding warrants, which can be for many different things. Again, it doesn't have to mean that he is a burglar or whatever. But like, these stories kind of like they sort of crawl down your spine and kind of gross you out, because it is nice that he delivered the food. But it all is like, it's propaganda. I'm sorry, it is. He didn't mean it to be, but it's being couched as like, it's pure propaganda, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the lady's Ring doorbell, I assume, was the one that recorded, and she pointed out it's reminiscent of the basketball playing. You'll see, oh man, he was out there with urban youth. There was actually a specific one, and it was the most blatant back and forth. Urban youth, look at this cop play basketball. And then we saw, I think it was like weeks later, maybe a month later, he was also the same officer that's playing basketball with the urban youth was caught on camera assaulting folks in the middle of cops in the middle of some kind of a circumstance. But he was attacking, it was a full-on fight, punches thrown, jumping on people. So you can do your revival of your character, but unless you actually change it in everything that you do, we'll see it eventually. Cameras are everywhere. I'm watching.
What would you have done if that was your food? Because like I think I would have been shocked, but I'm also would have been like, what I want to think I would have done is be like, give this to the guy you arrested. Just give it to him. Dude, this day sucks for him. he's missing out on tips, etc. Just give him this food.
There's probably plenty of people that wouldn't even open the door. Gotta be honest. Like, what are the cops doing here?
Yeah, exactly. That's on my Chick-fil-A.
And then you worry they may break into the door. Anyway, yes, good. Let's take this next break really fast, Francesca. And also, when we come back, there's more on the alternative way to educate kids in the country. It's been an ongoing culture war battle for many conservatives that are pushing their believers to think that this is really going down. And we have a very ridiculous ad that they've now unleashed. That when we come back.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Damage Report, another week of the news. I am John Iadarola, and we've got a doozy of a show for you. My God, is DC up its own ass today. We have put someone into power in our country who is so crazy, they have finally out-crazied North Korea.
The US is the only country in the world that isn't part of the Paris Climate Accord.
Yesterday, Donald Trump did exactly what he told us. He pulled the US out of the Iran nuclear accord.
So we need to see snuff videos of how you're killing people on the streets in order for you to believe us that this has been a problem. We need to change things.
I was gonna say we've been dealing with the issue of lead poisoning in this country, but that would imply that we're really doing something. We have an issue with lead poisoning and it continues. So 60 people are now dead. Some of them grandmothers, many of them children. The silence of politicians on both sides of the aisle. Just about only Bernie Sanders, maybe Tulsi Gabbard, and a few others have actually been critical of what happened there. And the rest are cowards hiding behind silence, refusing to admit what happened yesterday.
We have to be able to accept that we do things wrong in this country. You can fix and change things, make things even.
What's great about our country, and this is a great example of it, is everybody's pissed off. This is The Damage Report, and it's all about the threats facing us each day. When something's relevant, and it's hot, and it's in the news, you're not supposed to talk about it. Can we start talking about it now?
I often think about the terror that my grandmother was under until she was 8 or 9 years old, and how horrific that experience must have been in this state of discomfort for the benefit of other people.
People will still treat you like you're the problem. That's what we mean when we say living while black. We're just trying to live our best life. We're trying to be the best that we can be. And we're frustrated and tired of people treating us like we're criminals.
Back on the watch list, everyone. But next is The Damage Report with John Iadarola. He'll be joined by Brett Ehrlich today. Should be a fun time. It's a Friday garbage people edition. I know you guys love it over there. So make sure you hang tight, jump over to his channel. Also youtube.com/The Damage Report to check that out. Also on twitch.tv/TYT to watch The Damage Report there. With that being said, let's jump into this next story. There's an anti-woke children's book that's now being pushed to combat, all those teachings of CRT, LGBTQ, knowledge, equality, all that, and they're replacing them now because they want to have American icons being taught about. Back to when we loved our country. Let's check out this ridiculous ad.
Have a good day. I just sent my kids off to school, but do I really know what I will be getting back? Honestly, this is troubling. I mean, let's face it. Our kids are being virtually brainwashed by woke messages in schools and in children's literature. Why teach young children that something is inherently wrong with their body, their color, or their country? Why not teach values such as personal responsibility, courage, freedom, and the willingness to sacrifice for such values? Don't even get me started on the quality of the storytelling, as my beloved grandma would say.
That's about as lame as a horse overdue for the glue factory.
That's why I was so happy when my good friend Christine told me about Heroes of Liberty.
A new biography series for children that was created to do something that once was obvious. Tell great stories with tales about people who lived inspiring lives and who were devoted to the values that made this country great. These books are created by world-class illustrators and writers and are delightful and as American as apple pie. I bought this. We can't change the school systems overnight, but we can reclaim these magical moments of bedtime.
You would think we live in a completely different world. Just that last part, we can't change the school systems overnight. So what have the school systems been? What have the school systems been this entire time when it comes to educating kids about history? Because I guess it's been about talking about the true horrors of our past and the things that we've done. Sure, tell those inspiring stories, which are great to tell, but we're excluding the reasons why we had to have inspiring figures in history to try to fight back against the regularity of horrors. Now, one of those horrors was Andrew Jackson. I wonder if he stands out in one of those books. Because Andrew Jackson, let's go to this first graphic. He was the commander-in-chief from 1829 to 1837 in the United States of America. Signed the Indian Removal Act of 1830, which authorized, beyond his time in office, the violent forced displacement of approximately 100,000 indigenous peoples amid the country's westward expansion. Over 15,000 people from different tribal nations died on what came to be called the Trail of Tears. In case you didn't know, that's why we call it that. So what are they teaching about Andrew Jackson? Is he in these books about one of these American heroes because he expanded our westward motion throughout the land, killing people? Let's get to some of those details of it. To this third graphic here, you guys. Reverend Daniel Buttrick, a missionary who administered in the Cherokee territory for 20 years, wrote, from their very first arrest, they were obliged to live very much like brute animals. And during their travels, were obliged at night to lie down on the naked ground in the open air, exposed to wind and rain, and herd together, men, women, and children, like droves of hogs. And in this way, many were hastened to a premature grave. They killed them horribly and horrifically and violently. American history going on. Under the terms of the 1819 treaty, the United States guaranteed that Cherokee land would be off limits to white settlers forever. Forever lasted about 20 years. American history. So when you put your kids to bed and you read about Andrew Jackson, one of our great commanders in chiefs, and they're laying down like she wasn't into that, and you go, Andrew Jackson made tons of indigenous folks sleep on the ground with their children, unlike how you're sleeping right now, dying. American history. That's why they don't want to teach it. That's why they think the kids will suddenly hate their country. But what the kids will start hating their country over is when they find out you've been lying to them.
Absolutely. I mean, like, what are they gonna say about Andrew Jackson? Just like, and that showed leadership. It is difficult to do genocide. I mean, many people look, Hitler, like where are we going with this? At this point, these are the same people who are like, Hitler was bad, but wow, what a leader. Like there are, like that's very real in this country right now. History, as the late great Howard Zinn, who I believe there was an anniversary of his death this week. He talked about the fact that history is written by white people and rich people. Totally. And his people's history of the United States did the opposite and said, well, let's tell this history from the Cherokee perspective. Let's tell the history, our American history, from the slave perspective. Would it be so wrong to do what we haven't done throughout history and humanize the very people who were exploited, who were terrorized, whose land was stolen? That's not hating white people. That is having an eyes wide open like attitude towards history. My favorite part about that entire commercial, which is bonkers in every way, mostly because like that music is like literally what happens inside like some white people's brain, just like like is that one of the books that they showed was called I Need a New Bum. And I really got to read that. I just got to say, like, one of the books, there's like, oh, our children are being indoctrinated with I need a new bum. That sounds like a banger to me. And there you go. I need a new bum. What is that? Let's talk about that.
That's one of those things they don't want your kids to know about because, bums are nasty to be talked about.
Exactly. Bum. What is a bum? You don't have a bum. We don't talk about bums until 8th grade.
And it started with fear. Before we move on, it started with absolute fear. When I send my kids off, I don't know what I'm gonna get back. Why do you send your kids anywhere? Why do they go anywhere if you don't know what they're gonna get back? It doesn't make any sense because it absolutely doesn't have to. Let's go to this next story.
While I've been studying candidates' backgrounds and writings, I've made no decision except one. The person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications, character, experience, and integrity. And that person will be the first Black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court. It's long overdue in my view.
It's long overdue in Joe Biden's opinion. That's him reaffirming his pledge during his campaign to appoint a Black woman to the Supreme Court now that Justice Breyer has announced his retirement. So after this all happened, there's been a blizzard of snowflakes that are very upset about this because a Black woman, what is she gonna do to me? You know how Black people are. Legal expert Tomi Lahren led the charge. Let's watch.
Yeah, it doesn't change the ideological makeup, but we know that what Joe Biden does best is placate to the radical element and the radical progressive base of his party that he believes is the majority. I believe he's incorrect in that. I believe that they're actually the minority. But I'm wondering the kind of justice that he would nominate. Now, again, I'm sure it will be, as Guy said, a Black woman. You know, he's got a dedication to that. We saw how well that worked out with Kamala Harris, but here's to hoping that he has a better choice in mind for this position.
So, you know, Black women. Hey, if you don't like one in her position and what she's doing, that means another Black woman being nominated for another position must be horrific because, you know, all those Black people are just stupid. They don't know how to hold any kind of position or office, especially in government, controlling anything that has to do with me. Do you know that they're beneath me? So when Tomi got a little bit of pushback like that, specific from SE Cup, just pointing out that she's saying the quiet part out loud, Tomi then responded with this tweet: "Picking a nominee based solely on race, gender, and identity politics is what I'm criticizing, and you know that. We don't know that, and actually, you don't know that either." Because law professor Steve Vladek pointed it out on his Twitter as well, and he said President Ronald Reagan promised to appoint the first woman to the Supreme Court when he was elected. That was 1980 about. Conservatives at the time celebrated it as a good move. Isn't that weird how that works? Here's that headline from October 15th of 1980. President Reagan pledges he's gonna name a woman to the Supreme Court. Cheers and confetti flies down. Crazy, but you know what, that was 1980. Stop, JR, 1980, bro, come on. It's not like something like that happened in 2020 or anything. Let's look at this. Trump on the Supreme Court nominee. It will be a woman. Weird how that works. That's September 19th of 2020. It's weird how our memory is super short when it comes to the kind of person that you are celebrating to be on the Supreme Court. The difference here is what? Reagan nominated a woman, Trump nominated a woman, Biden says he's gonna nominate a Black woman.
Suddenly it's woke. It's just woke culture, woke as in code for people of color, specifically Black people. I'm just gonna call it woke, and then I can hide behind that and not appear racist, because that's what that term has ultimately become. I mean, it's so ridiculous. How dare you? Like, I have criticisms of Kamala Harris, but how dare you say we saw how well it worked out with Kamala Harris, and you're saying that to a Black female anchor on top of that? Ugh, just so reprehensible and disgusting. But yeah, exactly. It's every time a Black person is nominated, achieves something, is treated fairly by a system that is so historically treated Black people unfairly. Well, no, that's a handout. That's wokeness. That's because they have to. That's and like, honestly, I really wish that Joe Biden could double down on why, why a Black woman, not only a woman, but why a Black woman? Talking about the justice system in this country, how it is historically worked against Black people. So I think that would help. It wouldn't help with Republicans, but I think it would help sort of make that case on why it is important and why this representation matters.
And it would help, but it sucks that you'd have to explain why a person who represents a significant portion of the country who's been underrepresented throughout our history through vicious reasons and vicious policies has to be there in a judicial position at the top of the country to make sure there's representation and acknowledgement of who lives here. They don't want that. Again, it's why they don't want the education on that, because then people might start thinking, oh man, there's a good reason to have someone on here that's always been persecuted in this country, because we tell everyone there's been no persecution in this country, only advancement. Everyone was born here great and given every opportunity ever. It's just not the case. That does it for this week's, isn't that crazy? This week's watch list. Thank you, Francesca, for joining me. Thank you guys out there for joining me. It's been a beautiful week. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Show up again on Monday and have a lovely weekend. And until then, I will be watching.